think about the cost of time lost. What if your time on Earth was up and you never got to do what you really wanted to do? As artists, we're often told by the rest of humanity that you should concentrate on one thing at a time. Stay in your lane, they'll say. Hyper focus on one thing and be excellent at that one thing. But that's hard for a lot of artists to do.
That's awesome.
If I brought my camera with me, I could capture some of these beautiful moments. You're just going to see something beautiful if you take a walk with your camera. Do you have a favorite brush?
No, I'm pretty picky about my brushes.
That's funny.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Shiree Nichole with the Emerging Artist Podcast.
And I'm Scott Markowitz. And this week is part 2 of an interview where Shiree turned the tables on me and interviewed me. The interview ended up going a little bit longer than we expected. I guess I had a lot to say, but we decided to break the interview up. So this is part 2 of that interview. If you wanted to hear how I started Reinvention Studio with Hector, you can go back and listen to part 1. But here's the rest of the interview, and we're going to just pick it up right where we left off.
I don't even know all that you do, but we've been co-hosting this podcast for a couple of years now. And I think it'd be very nice to interview you. And I also know you do photography for wildlife photography. Is that something that you also sell, or is that for personal enjoyment, or both?
Oh, it's both. So I'm glad you asked about that, Shiree. Again, we've discussed this many times. One of my favorite things to do is just walking in nature. It helps me to relax. It helps me to get more grounded, get more in contact with my own thoughts. So at one point in my life, I was looking around during one of these walks, and I said, you know what? If I brought my camera with me, I could capture some of these beautiful moments. You're just going to see something beautiful if you take a walk with your camera. And so I get to combine being in nature and my love for that with my love for photography and being able to share those kinds of moments with other people. Right? So, yeah, I would invite everyone listening, if you want to see some of my wildlife photography, I have a curated website where I show and share my favorite pieces, and I sell the artwork. You can get prints or other things created with the artwork, like mugs and even pillows, things like that. And if you want to see that, you can go visit scottmarkowitzphotography.com. That's SCOTTMARKOWITZ.com. And yeah.
I know you have sat for long periods of time to get some specific shots. What is the longest period of time, and what creature or bird or animal was it that you were waiting on?
Yeah. So wildlife photography, there's 2 components to it. There's observation and then there's execution. Because in order to get a really killer photograph, you need to observe your subject to be able to see how they behave. Mm-hmm. And that for some kinds of animals, that could take years to really learn all the intricacies of their behavior to the point where you're going to be able to get a great picture. Because it is species specific. When I first moved to Florida, for example, there's a lot of species that were new to me, and so I didn't see these in other parts of the country where I lived before. So osprey, for example, okay. Eagles, I never really saw those before in other places that I lived, and boy, osprey and eagles are just beautiful. And I still don't have as many pictures of those animals as I would like, because I'm still learning their behavior. But here in Florida, I've noticed, there's lots of egrets and sandpipers, a lot of shorebirds, And, again, those are not typical to where I used to live either. So when I first moved to Florida, it took me like 6 months of going to the beach, traveling, hiking through some of the local parks and stuff, and the county parks, state parks, observing the birds and the alligators.
Oh yeah, you can't forget them.
Yes, if you're visiting Florida, do not forget about the alligators. They are here, and they will get you. So be careful. So I'm trying to answer your question, but for 6 months I would go observe, not even bringing the camera, and then for several rounds of that observation, I'm just watching, just trying to see where the animals go. Osprey for hours, with a pair of binoculars, just see what I can see, and what do they do, and what clues do they give off. Oh, and did they do that behavior before? Have I seen them do that? What follows that behavior? What preceded it? That way I would come back with my camera with that knowledge of all that observation, and I would know, going back to the osprey, there's a telltale head bob that almost every single osprey will do right before they jump out of a tree or dive out of flight and into the water trying to catch a fish. So if you see that head bob, you know to get ready, that they're like moments after that they're about to dive. So to answer your question, 5 minutes later, I've waited for about 4 or 5 hours in one single spot, waiting for an osprey to decide to go catch a fish.
That's patience.
Yeah. And you're sitting there going, this osprey should be hungry about now.
That takes a lot of endurance too. Yeah. What is your favorite camera and equipment that you use?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't have a favorite. I have gear that I will go to often, but it's not like I'm attached to it emotionally, which I think a lot of photographers do get like emotionally attached to their equipment. That's definitely not the way I operate. I mean, it's just a tool for me. I get, I choose the cameras that I use because I like the way that they feel in my hand. I like the way that the controls work. I prefer Sony cameras. They have really good hybrid cameras. They do video equally as well as they do photography, and I really I'm very like my mind works the same way that those camera systems are laid out. The buttons just feel like they're in the exact right spot for me. They feel just really good in my hand. So I have a Sony A7 IV, which is my go-to camera right now. I do use it for video, like as a secondary camera, but our main camera for video production is a Sony A7S III.
That's good to know.
And I just like the way that those cameras work. I think about photography from a light standpoint. That's how I approach it. Like, I'm looking at the scene, and I don't really care about the camera. I just want to make sure that I'm able to shape the light the way I want. So it's more about like, where am I in relation to where the light's hitting my subject? Where am I? Or where are my strobe lights? I use a lot of strobe lights.
Okay.
I don't think about it in terms of the dials and the turns of the buttons and the presses and do you have a favorite brush?
No, I'm pretty picky about my brushes.
That's funny.
I like the smallest one. I love angled brushes. All angled brushes.
So does it matter what brand it is?
No, not really. I just like a nice angled brush.
Yeah, you just like what it does. I mean, all cameras pretty much do the same thing. They capture light. So if you hand me a camera, I'll figure out how to get the best picture with that camera.
That's awesome. That's wonderful. What advice would you give other artists having the same feelings you had, being safe in employment, but having a dream of owning your own business and jumping into it? What would you say to somebody in your same position 6 years ago?
Think about the cost of time lost. What if your time on Earth was up and you never got to do what you really wanted to do?
That'd be really disappointing.
It would be sad. So my advice, start saving up some money, build yourself a financial runway. That's really the thing that scared me out of it to begin with. Remember I talked about earlier The first time I really started a business, I chickened out, and it was because there wasn't enough money really for me to take risk on. Burn through so much cash, it just scared the crap out of me and my wife. I didn't know how much money I should have saved, to make the room to build up a stable of clients, because that's really what the game's about. You got to find people that are willing to pay you. Yes. So I would say, if you really want to start a business, start saving up some money, start investing in education to learn how to run a business, to learn about the mindset required.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge. That's an awareness of what kinds of personal traits you need to develop, and what you need to learn up on. And then keep your job probably for as long as you can. Get some side clients. Try to get one or two people on the side that you're working for and see what that's like.
That's excellent advice.
The other reason to keep your job as long as you can is because, what if you try this and it really sucks? Also, don't give up after that. Say you find a side client and it doesn't work out. I would highly recommend that you try to find another client. What are the actual personal qualities that person had that you didn't like? Figure that out, and then seek out somebody who's got different personal qualities, right? Because potential clients, with different qualities are going to offer you a different experience. So see how the experience is different, compare and contrast. Maybe you just had bad luck that first time. Maybe you had extraordinary luck, and maybe, maybe the second client's going to suck and you don't like that, so figure that out. It's not always going to be wonderful. Not every client's going to be rainbows and butterflies. And, try to get that variety when you're still in that safe position of having a job, and get that experience of what it's like to go through the motions with different types of people. So don't quit just yet. Have full intention of starting your own business. Start building up gradually, and invest in yourself. And continue to do good work for the people that you're working for in your job while you're doing this, because that's going to keep up your personal morale and your personal confidence. And investing in yourself, that's going to reveal your inadequacies and your weaknesses. And it's better to build those strengths up while you're still in the safe harbor of a job. The more weaknesses that you're able to mitigate, and the better prepared you're going to be when things get tough later on, when you don't have that other job, when your job is the job.
True. That's wonderful. And so another aspect to our listeners, Scott is also a life coach. So if you are thinking of starting your own business, this is something you could personally help somebody with as well, correct?
Absolutely, yes. If you just email me, scott@reinventionstudiolab.com, and tell me what you're thinking about, what do you want to create? I'd be happy to reach out to you and have an initial conversation to help you straighten out your thoughts and get you on a path to achieving what you want to achieve.
That's wonderful. You have such a great background and offer such a wealth of information that really could help a person propel them into a successful art career of their own. I think that's great. You wear many hats, but they all blend well in a cohesive business. I like that.
Thank you. And I think it's worth taking just a second to mention that, because as artists, we're often told by the rest of humanity that you should concentrate on one thing at a time. Stay in your lane, they'll say. Hyper focus on one thing and be excellent at that one thing. But that's hard for a lot of artists to do. And I'm here to tell you that to be that way, you can be successful for sure. And there is a lot of advantages and a lot of wisdom in that advice. But wearing a lot of hats, that's the path to success for some other people, especially artists. Like sometimes we need to step in and out of different roles to find that success for ourselves. The trick, though, and where a coach can really help, is trying to find where it's maybe not appropriate to step outside of boundaries for yourself, but equally where it is right and appropriate for you to step into a different role, right? So yes, you can be successful as a multidisciplinary artist. Yes, this life is yours to create and, choose your own path.
Wouldn't that be boring for you? If you picked one of the things that you did and that's all you ever did.
Yeah, I could tell you when I was an employee and I got stuck in one project for a long time, it drove me nuts. I mean, I hate that.
You're in a much better position now. And we're all super happy here in the community that you have your own business. You guys are making us all look better.
Oh, thank you. That's what we do. We just want to make sure everybody is telling their story the best that they can to maximize their skills and the things that they do, right? That's wonderful. We all have the people that we're meant to serve. And I'm happiest when I see people experiencing that and being of service to the people that they're most useful to.
That's wonderful. Anything else you'd like to tell our listeners about your services or what you provide that you would like to share?
Yeah, I think one other thing I'd like to share, Shiree, is that running your own business, like a lot of times an artist thinks that you've got to get better at the artwork. And I think that my experience has demonstrated that there's always room to improve the skill set. Definitely. But it's the inner work that is going to make the big difference in having your business be a success or not. So our services, you and I really highlight making sure that you're emotionally and mentally prepared for the challenges, because a lot of times you don't even know the challenges you're about to face. Small business owners, they rely on resilience. That's the personal work, though. You got to be able to put in the personal work in order to build up that resilience.
Mm-hmm. I think that's great advice.
So my coaching, yes, it can help fill all the technical gaps that you have with a photography or video business. And that's important for a videographer and a photographer to be efficient. I mean, it's super important. I don't want to de-emphasize that. But it's also truly very important that you do the inner work and you do some self-care and you understand as much of that as possible so that you can function at your best and maybe, cut off problems before they happen on the inside. We really definitely truly emphasize that.
That's wonderful. Do you just work mainly in Collier and Lee County, or do you work nation and worldwide?
So we can help people with coaching no matter where they are. Currently, the only barrier is the language of English. I only speak English at the moment. Committed to learning Spanish as soon as possible.
Okay. And if anybody wants to reach out to you, where would we find you again?
Why, yes. Thank you, Shiree. If you're interested in starting a photography or video business and you're not quite sure what the next steps are, I would encourage you to email me. You can email me at scott@reinventionstudiolab.com. Maybe I can give you some advice, like real quick, just through email. That would get you all the way where you need to go. Scott@reinventionstudiolab.com. I'll respond to every single email up until the point that I can no longer do it. But yeah, as of the time of this recording, I can definitely offer that bandwidth to people.
Wonderful. Well, it's been a pleasure to be on the other side of the microphone this morning and visit with you and get to know more about your history and path and your future goals and where you're headed. It's exciting.
Thank you so much, Shiree. This was really cool.
Yeah.
Having you turn the tables on me. How dare you? But no, thank you. This was really cool. I really appreciate it.
It was fun. So thank you all for listening, and we will talk to you another time on the Emerging Artists Podcast.
Rock on. Awesome.